My daughter hasn't taken off her coat in 3 months. I now know the horrifying reason why. I was dumbfounded the first time I saw my daughter wearing that big, ugly black coat. It was weird, but I just assumed she had found it at school and started wearing it as a joke. I just never could have predicted the horrifying reality behind her new addiction. When I met her 10 minutes later in her room, however, Melanie was still wearing the coat. It was burning hot outside, so I asked her to take it off, but for some reason, she insisted on wearing it. I heard my wife clear her throat behind me and looked back. She gave me a stern look, which was a reminder not to force our daughter to do anything she didn't want to do. I sighed and accepted the fact that I'd have to endure the terrible smell of that coat for the rest of the day. During dinner, I could barely stomach 2 bites of my spaghetti before I lost my appetite entirely due to the sight and smell of the coat from hell. Melanie, however, munched happily and even asked for a second plate. I was relieved when she finally ran off to play in her room. A couple of hours later, as I settled down for the night playing games on my phone, my wife entered the room looking alarmed. She told me, I just tucked Melanie in and she wanted to sleep in the coat. There was silence for a few seconds as we stared at each other. She wanted to sleep in the coat, I responded. My wife said, forget about it. Tomorrow she'll take it back to school and she'll be back in that expensive jacket you insisted on buying her. Oh, how I wish it would have been that simple. When I got home from work ready for dinner, I caught a scent of a terribly familiar odor as soon as I stepped in the house. Undoing my tie as I stepped into the dining room, I could see my wife sitting with her hands clasped under her chin, obviously livid but trying to hide it, and sitting in the godforsaken coat looking as though she was the happiest kid in the world. Was Melanie going to town on a cheeseburger? I asked her where her jacket was and she pointed across the room at her jacket, which was hanging on its hook on the wall. Perplexed, I looked at Judith, who had not taken a single bite of her burger or fries. I asked Melanie, so why did you decide to keep your classmate's coat? Did you find out who it belongs to? Melanie took a gulp of apple juice before turning to look at me. No one wanted it, Dad, so I'll just keep it. Great. Not a day passed that Melanie wasn't in that coat. During breakfast, playing outside, going to the store, going to school, playing with her toys, she was in it every waking moment. It wasn't long before we got a call from her teacher telling us how uncomfortable Melanie was making all of the other students. I told her that I was going to talk with her about it. I spoke with Judith and we came to a mutual agreement. Enough was enough. Melanie was going to have to take the damn thing off. When we approached her in her room, however, she acted like an animal backed into a corner. She got uncharacteristically loud and violent, throwing things across the room at us until we were forced to retreat. I considered calling a therapist, but Judith was against it. She did not get tired of the damn thing. One night, I accidentally walked in on Melanie as she was taking a shower. Though her clothes were on the floor, the coat was not. She was wearing it as she showered. We were warned by the principal of the school that Melanie would be expelled if she did not get rid of the coat. Judith and I decided to try to rid ourselves of the damn thing while she slept. We waited until midnight before creeping into her room. The two of us tiptoed very slowly towards our daughter's bed, her back to us as she lay sleeping in the coat. If she woke during the removal, we were just going to have to wrestle with her until we got it off. Catching a glimpse of our reflections in the mirror across the room, however, made me stop dead in my tracks. Melanie was not asleep. I could see her reflection in the mirror, her eyes wide and bloodshot, watching us as we approached. She was lying completely still, a manic look on her pale face.